In this video, I'm going to show you the second part of our landscape drawing using coloured pencils, and I'll also show you an option for if you don't have coloured pencils. Last week we sketched out the composition for our landscape, so that was just the layout and the outline of the main shapes. Now we're going to be adding in the colour. So as you can see, here's the picture I chose. We've got lots of autumn colours, lots of reds, oranges, browns, a bit of yellow and green. I'm going to start off with the road in my landscape. As you can see, the road's a kind of greyish colour, but grey can be quite a flat colour, so whenever you are using grey, try and see if there's some other colours you can blend in with it. So for my road, I'm using a mixture of light grey, dark grey and a little bit of brown and blue. I'm also trying to recreate the different tones I can see on the road. Some parts are lighter and some parts are darker. So in the darker areas, I'm layering up a little bit of dark brown with my grey. That's a close-up of the colours that I used. So a light grey, a dark grey, a blue and a couple of shades of dark brown. Now moving on to the house. So I'm going to start by laying down a base colour all over the shape of the house. So I'm using this light grey and I'm just lightly shading all over. Now I'm going to start working on top to create some tone and detail on my house. So for this I'm using a light brown, a dark brown and also my dark grey. If you don't have that many colours, try just to pick out a colour that you think is going to be good for a darker tone, perhaps dark brown, dark blue, dark purple, something like that. So I'm just continuing to add the different tones of all the bricks I can see on my house. Now I'm moving on to the windows and doors where I can see I've got some little shadows, so I'm using my dark brown in there. Try to avoid using black for any shadows. Now for my roof, that's quite an unusual colour, a sort of shade of turquoise. So if you have any colours in your landscape that you don't have a pencil similar to that, try to think what colours you could layer up together to try and make something as close as you can. So for turquoise, I'm layering up a little bit of blue and a little bit of light green to try and recreate that colour. Now I'm going to move on to the colours for all of the foliage, so that's all the leaves and grass. So I'm using a mixture of orange, yellow, red, green and brown. I'm just adding in a little bit of texture of the grass at the bottom of the house. When I'm layering up colours, I always put down the lightest colour first. So for this patch of grass, I wanted to layer together some yellow and green and a little bit of brown. So I put the yellow first. Now I'm filling in a base colour of orange for this patch of foliage here. Then I work on top with my pencil to create the texture of the little plants, using a mixture of orange and red and brown. As always, the grass that is in the foreground, so it's closer to us, is larger, and then the blades of grass get a little bit smaller as they recede towards the background. I'm just continuing to put down a base colour and then working on top with my pencil to create the texture. As you can see, when I'm putting the base colour down, I'm using the side of my pencil to create some smoother shading, and then when I want to add the texture, I'm using the tip of my pencil. You can apply this technique to whatever landscape picture you are drawing. Just have a look and think, what would the background colour be? I'm now adding a bit of shadow here using my dark brown. So again, not using black. Try and think of what other colours you could use instead. I'm now just going to continue layering down a light base colour for each section of my landscape and then working on top with my pencil to create the different textures. Now I'm going to start working on the trees using a mixture of dark brown and dark grey. So I'm showing the different tones, creating the shadows on the tree trunk, and I'm also showing a little bit of the texture of the bark. Once again, try to avoid using any black. I'm just drawing in all the parts of the trees that I can actually see, so the branches which are peeking out from the leaves, and then afterwards I'm going to go in and add the foliage. This is going to look better because then I'm not going to be trying to cover up parts of the tree when I am drawing in the leaves, especially since I'm using a dark brown, which would be quite difficult to cover up with lighter colours like yellow. For the leaves, I'm just going to use the same technique as I did for the ground. I'm going to start by laying down my base colour, blending a couple of colours together sometimes, and then I'm going to work on top to create that kind of dotted texture of the leaves. This also means that I don't need to fill in every single little space with texture. It's fine if I have some gaps because I've already got that base colour down, so I'm not left with any kind of awkward white spaces that wouldn't be there. And there's the finished result once I've finished filling in all of the leaves on my trees and the background colours. Here's a couple of wee close-ups just so you can see the different colours that I've used and the textures and tones that I've created a little bit better. Now I'm going to show you what you can do if you don't have colour pencils. So I'm still able to add in the different tones on my house just with my regular pencil, looking for any little shadows and the different shades of the bricks. I'm also shading in any areas of darker tone in the background or shadows on the tree trunks. I'm not shading in the whole background because that could start to look quite kind of scribbly. It's going to look a bit better if you just shade in any kind of darker parts, and then I am working on top with my pencil to create some of the textures of the leaves and the tree trunks. If you use small pencil strokes and the side of your pencil, it will help your shading to be a little bit smoother. And there's an up close look at what that little section looks like with tonal pencil. So you can still use your pencil to create different tones and textures, even if you don't have coloured pencils.